So with all this going on, where you're trying to work out what it is you're trying to achieve with regards to freelance digital marketing and working out goals and milestones, you also need to take a step back and have a really honest look about where you're at with regards to life and what it is you can potentially bring to a freelance digital marketing career. When it comes to this, it's a case of working out your strengths and weaknesses. Now, this isn't the standardized interview question where someone says, oh, can you give me an example of a weakness, and you pull a very generic answer out the back. This needs to be a really honest appraisal of all the good bits that you can potentially bring to a business, but also the bits that you are ultimately going to bring which could potentially hold you back. So when it comes to weaknesses, it's one of those things where quite naturally a lot of people are prepared to go into freelance life but are feeling very nervous and anxious and apprehensive about actually, are they going to be able to make a success of this? When I was going into it, I was thinking, oh God, I'm not sure if I can do this. I'm not sure if I've got the skills to do this. I don't know enough people. I don't know certain aspects of digital marketing well enough. And so on and so on. And you're just sort of overwhelmed by the number of how am I going to achieve this? Over-fatalizing that is not a good thing. It's not a good place to be in. But actually having a degree of that is, I think, a very helpful activity because it already sets your brain in motion for working out how it is you're going to achieve those certain things. By the same time, and this isn't something which comes naturally to me, it's also a case of working out where my strengths lie. And to be honest, they're the things which you often just find most comfortable with. They're the things you actually ultimately don't think about really at all. So in my case, it was a case that I feel really unconfident about selling. I feel really unconfident about trying to make negotiations and to put prices in front of people. That is definitely a weakness of mine, and that is therefore something that I need to be putting time and effort into working towards. When it comes to strengths, for example, actually I feel very confident at doing SEO, for example. I feel very confident at being able to explain in quite easy to understand ways as to what might be wrong with the client's website. So okay, that's a tick in the client communication box. Now, working all this out for you is definitely a useful activity. The easiest way you can do this, and again, as cheesy as it sounds, but it's something I've done a number of times, is something called a SWOT analysis. So SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So you put each one of those strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats into an individual box, and essentially you sit down for a period of time and work out what all those things are. So once you've got the results of that, you should be able to have a very almost clear list of potential areas of threats and weaknesses which you can start to work towards. In that context, if you're, say, really unconfident about speaking publicly to a client, whether that's on the phone, over Skype, or meeting them face to face, that's something which inevitably you're going to need to be able to do. So what you need to do is go away and at this stage just make a very quick list of, say, 2 or 3 activities of how you can go about solving that challenge. That isn't to say that therefore number 1 on the list is become an awesome public speaker. Again, if you go back to what we covered already, it's a case of trying to come up with something that is very granular, very specific as to how you might go about achieving that, even if it's just the first step in going about how to achieve that. So if that was me, I would sit there and go, okay, who can I first speak to, like a friend or a colleague or someone else who knows about this kind of stuff, and just ask them for some recommendations as to how they got so good at public speaking, for example. On the other hand, you've also got a list of your strengths. Now, realistically, you might feel that you don't need to develop them any further, but they are so good to have written down. The reason being is that going forwards in the weeks and months and years ahead, it's a really nice reference point to actually come back to and go, you know what, I feel like I'm good at this. The reason being is that during the process of going freelance, and once you are freelance, you are going to have doubts. You are going to have things which don't work out, and that can really undermine your confidence. Having those strengths there and having those opportunities there give you almost like a reserve of really positive energy, positive vibes as it were, to be able to make sure when the going gets tough, and it will get tough at times, that you can tap into that and know that you are on the right track with the things you're doing. So go away, do that SWOT analysis. I've put a link to a great little resource for how to actually go about making that. And yeah, see where your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and potential threats out there lie.